Buying a home in Kansas City is anything but easy right now, and a large reason why is because there are fewer and fewer pre-existing homes that are popping up on the market. But at the same time, we're seeing more and more new construction homes become available, come online all over the metro area. This video, it's all about the top 7 suburbs for new construction homes in Kansas City. Throughout the video, we'll be breaking down the major differences in prices, square footage, some of the top communities in each of these areas. We're also going to explain why each of these suburbs has a unique market when it comes to buying or building a new home in Kansas City. So, without further ado, we're going to get started with number 7. We'll work our way up to number 1. Number 7 is Shawnee, Kansas.
As you can see on the map, Shawnee, Kansas is located in northwest Johnson County. It's a beautiful area, a lot of rolling hills. You've got Shawnee Mission Park, and then downtown is located in eastern Shawnee. It's very charming, a lot of local businesses. Now, with Shawnee being in Johnson County, we have some of the highest home prices here in all of the metro for older homes and new construction. And this first chart here on the screen, you can see Shawnee has a median sales price of $717,000 for new construction homes, number 2 on the list.
And if you're wondering, well, why is Shawnee, despite being the second most expensive, why is it listed as number 7 on the list? And the reason why is because this ranking is actually based on the number of options on the market, which is that second column on the screen. So you can see Shawnee is clocking in around 169 number of new listings. And as we go through each city in the video, we're going to go back and forth from the Kansas side to the Missouri side, and you'll see the number of options increase. The reason we did it this way, because the more options you have, usually the better deal you're going to get, more value you're going to get for your money. But going back to the data, it's not just about that price, which yes, Shawnee was the second most expensive. It's also about the square footage. And you can see Shawnee also has the second largest homes that you'll find on the market. The average square footage just under 3,100 square feet. And that's what we're going to be breaking down for each city as well. Now, in the beginning of the video, we promised we'd give you the unique things about each of these suburbs. Jordan, you did a great job touching on the elevation changes, the treetops. You can see some of that footage, that drone footage on the screen. The second reason Shawnee is unique is because of that square footage, but there's one city on this list with the biggest homes, the biggest average square footage. And then the third major one, this is kind of unique to Shawnee. The city's mostly built out. So those beautiful views, you'll see them as you get further and further west, but there are really only 2 big master plan communities, and they might be the only 2 new home communities you'll see in Shawnee from here on out. And what that means for you is you're not going to see a big influx of supply dropping onto the market. These are some of the last opportunities to get into a bigger community. From here on out, it's likely to be infill, smaller communities, teardowns, and things like that. But we also promised we'd give you some of the top communities. So Jordan, why don't we start with my favorite, which is Bristol Highlands.
Yeah, Nick's favorite, Bristol Highlands. It's one of 2 master plan communities really that are left in Western Shawnee. It's a Don Julian, J.S. Robinson community. You've got maintenance provided villas starting in the 500s and then all the way up to estate homes, $1 million+ properties. Now the other community is Canyon Lakes, and that's going to be on the west side of K7. That's a pre-community, and they have multiple builders in that community, so a couple of good options
and a ton of inventory. They can hit a price point that's kind of harder to hit, and they're certainly going to fall a little bit under that 717 or the price point you'll see in some of the larger homes that you'd find in Bristol Highlands. So that is all for Shawnee. We're going to move over to the Missouri side. Number 6 on the list has some of the lowest prices for new construction homes in all of Kansas City. Number 6 is Blue Springs, Missouri.
That's right. So as you can see on the map, Blue Springs on the east side of Jackson County, east of Kansas City downtown. It's right off of I-70. It's really a great location. They've got a ton of amenities out there. You're right next to Lake Giacomo and Blue Springs Lake. And talking about those home prices, you really can't beat them for new construction in Kansas City. So looking at this chart here on the screen, Blue Springs, $405,000 median sales price.
Yep, there's always a catch with something like this, and we'll be getting to it here in a second. Ton of options for the size of the city of Blue Springs. 177 new homes listed over the last 12 months. What that tells me is that even though this is a city that's growing very quickly, still developing, and yes, you'll find a lot of amenities just south in Lee Summit, builders, developers, etc., they're looking at this city as if it has a ton of growth potential, and I would absolutely agree with that. Now, if we read between the lines, the major price difference, what we're clocking, a $200,000, $300,000 price difference between Shawnee and Blue Springs. Well, here is part of what goes into that. You can see on this second chart, the square footage, Blue Springs actually has some of the smallest homes in all of Kansas City. So the benefit would be they're the most affordable. Maybe you don't want something that's 3,000 square feet. Maybe you don't want to pay the premium that you might be looking at in Johnson County. Well, this gets you in, smaller footprint of a home, more attainable price. It really solves a need, I think, that we're seeing in the Kansas City real estate market. And that has to be the unique thing about Blue Springs is it's a very, very competitive price when it comes to new construction. And there's one caveat with that, because what we're starting to see is some regional builders coming into Kansas City, some builders starting to build homes that are on slab, which means there's not a full basement. You don't have a basement at all. And the problem with that is it's an easy way to get the price down. But at Blue Springs, you'll find a little bit of that, but most of them will actually have a full basement. So it's not just the most competitive prices. It's without cutting out larger costs, like the ability to finish a basement down the road.
Now, when it comes to some of the top communities in Blue Springs, you've got Eagle Creek of Blue Springs, and they're going to be in that price in that 400 to 700,000 range. You've got Eagles Ridge, 375 to 500 on up. And then you also have Woodlands at Chapman Farms. And that's where they have multiple builders like Ashler, B Home, and that's where they really start in the $300,000 range, but do go on up over 600,000.
Yeah, kind of a newer community, ton of lots left to develop future phases, which is always nice to see. We're going to move on to number 5, but we haven't introduced ourselves yet, so we should probably get that done. We haven't met. My name's Nick.
And I'm Jordan.
We help people buy and build new homes all over the Kansas City suburbs. We specialize in new construction. It's really what we love to do. So when it comes to finding the best builders, floor plans, communities, how to build, where to start building, finding the best lots, that is what we would love to help you with. So if you're in the market to buy or build a new home in Kansas City, there's a ton of money that you can save, a lot of good options that are just hiding in plain sight or not even listed on the market. We love to show those to you. So any questions, phone call, text message, email, all of our info is on the screen down below in the description. We're moving on to number 5, which is the city of Spring Hill, Kansas.
As you can see on the map, Spring Hill is located just south of Olathe and Overland Park, which are two of the biggest cities in Johnson County. Now, it's located right off of 169 highway, so you have easy access to the city. Most of the new construction is on the north side of Spring Hill, and really what makes it unique, it's got some of the lowest home prices for new construction homes in Kansas City.
Yep, and we'll put that chart on the screen. You can see Spring Hill, a little bit more expensive than Blue Springs. It's around $442, at least over the last 12 months. But really the big kicker here is the number of new listings. Spring Hill, kind of a smaller city that's piggybacking off of a lot of the growth in Olathe and Overland Park. 246 new homes coming online over the last 12 months. And we expect more than that this year in 2025 and beyond. But again, back to, you get what you pay for. The square footage is a big factor in the price. We look at the average square footage chart. What you'll notice is Spring Hill also has some of the smallest homes that you'll find in all of the cities and suburbs on this list. 2,100 square feet plus or minus. And really the most unique thing about these homes, yes, is partly the price. I think second, it's the location. You've got a lot of growth in cities just north of that where the home prices for new homes are maybe 100, 200, 300 or double, which you'd see in Spring Hill. But the third one is because of all of that growth, there are a lot of builders and developers moving into Spring Hill. They're targeting smaller homes, lower prices. We also have some regional builders like a D.R. Horton. We've got like a Roche Coleman moving in. And the same thing we kind of touched on with Blue Springs is in Blue Springs, you'd find those lower prices. And a lot of those would have finished, they would have basements and at least a basement foundation, even if they're not finished. Spring Hill, we tend to see a little bit more presence of slab homes where they're not pouring that full basement. It's just a slab and you've got either a ranch or a two-story style home.
Yeah, that's really how they're keeping their prices down is excluding the basement as an option. Now, some of the top communities in Spring Hill, you have Dayton Creek, Wiswell Farms, which is that Roush Coleman community, and Woodland Crossing, which is where D.R. Horton's coming to town.
Yeah, and just to take this one step further, it's like Dayton Creek, there's one section of that neighborhood where most of those homes are on slab, but the rest of those homes, full basement foundations. The Roush Coleman communities, I believe most of those are all slab homes. They also have a 210 warranty, which is additional beyond what most builders provide. And then the D.R. Horton communities, I believe most of the time they've got a full basement foundation. So it's certainly a mix. It's not all of them are going to be on slab, just a little bit higher presence of those homes. That's one of the ways that they get those costs a little bit lower.
Now, moving on to number 4 on the list, we've got Lee Summit, Missouri. Now, it's located on the southeast side of Kansas City. It's got great highway access to the rest of the metro. And one thing that really makes Lee Summit unique is the downtown area. It's very, very charming. They've got the farmers market and art shows every summer. But Nick, the home prices here are very competitive for new construction homes. As you can see on the chart on the screen, $555,000 median sales price. And what I think is so cool, 398 new listings.
It's a huge number of new listings. Just for comparison, I think Lee Summit is somewhat in the ballpark in terms of size, similar to the city of Olathe. But it has like half the population that you'd see there. So the lower population density, you get this small town feel. That's a lot of homes being built and coming online in that size of city. And you've got a ton of options. So I know that median price says 555, but truth be told, you're going to find some as low as the 400s. You're going to find some that go multi millions of dollars. A lot of variety in Lee Summit. But we always like to do that gut check. What's beneath the price? The square footage chart. So Lee Summit's kind of middle of the pack. I'd say it's sitting pretty healthy around 2,600 square feet, which for the 555 price point, that's a pretty solid.
It's very hard to beat.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid place to be. You could not find that in Johnson County. You'd be in like the 650s in most of these areas, like in Olathe, Shawnee, Lenexa, etc. So I think what makes it unique is you've just got a ton of inventory and not just homes on the market. You got a lot of different builders. You've got a lot of different communities to choose from. You've got some that are like the amenities are in, they're at the end stages of the community. You've got others that are like brand new in the middle of construction where you can get some of the best lot options. We're going to talk about those in a second. But really one of the biggest things is all of the amenities that you'll get for those lower prices. If we had to compare, I think Lee Summit to one of the other cities we've discussed, I'd say eerily close. It's kind of like apples to oranges, but if we had to make the comparison, very similar to Shawnee, I would say. But I like the amenities in Lee Summit just a little bit more. School ratings you'll see are pretty up there. So for 555, certainly very impressive. But we've got some communities that we've got to break down too.
Yeah, so some of the top communities in Lee Summit, you have Hook Farms. It's a Hunt Midwest community. Those price ranges from 500,000 all the way up to 800 plus. And they have an excellent builder lineup.
Yeah, for that community, they've got all the lots basically unlocked right out of the get-go. Most developers will go in phases. So I had a client build there, after looking through, 8 to 10 different builders that built in that community alone. They got a lot that backed to a tree line, privacy, and the lot prices were super, super low, especially after looking at some in Overland Park. But I think the second community, New Longview, is an interesting concept.
Yeah, New Longview, it's in between Longview Lake and Lee Summit. And what's really interesting about it is most of the homes, the garages are built on the back side of the home. And so they have alleyways throughout the community. It's just, we haven't seen it that often here in Kansas City. And I've been to neighborhoods like that before in Texas, and it's interesting.
The houses have a lot of character and a lot of charm. It almost looks like the style you'd see like bungalow style, like downtown, more historic areas in Kansas City, but all new construction.
Now, the third community is the Reserve at Woodside Ridge, where the prices range from $500 all the way up to over $1 million. It's actually a Summit home community, but they have a custom builder lineup like TrueMark, JFE, and KC Custom Homes.
Yep. So very luxury level homes that you'll find in Lee Summit there. And even though it is a Summit community, I haven't seen Summit building too many of the homes there. I think that they've shifted their business model. We'll talk about that in a different video, but those are some very, very nice homes. Most of the communities you'll find in Lee Summit, they're targeting anywhere from like the 500s to 700s. That's the one community where you'll find a lot of options that are like 800 plus, all the way up to like 1.5 and some even more than that.
Now, jumping back over to the Kansas side, we've got number 3 on our list, Overland Park. We have to talk about it. It's the biggest principal city on the Kansas side of the Kansas City Metro. And one of the things that really makes it unique and sought after, Blue Valley schools, all the amenities. I mean, just it's constantly rated high on all these lists like niche.com.
Yep. And we'll put the home prices on the screen. There's one caveat here. So this one's going to show you a price around 817. If we calculated this a couple days later, you might see 822. But that's not really the whole truth here, because it doesn't show the price just in the Blue Valley School District. In fact, we'll put that on the screen. It used to be hovering around like the 960s. I wouldn't be surprised if it's higher. So if you're seeing a higher price there, that would be why. These also happen to be some of the biggest homes that you'll find for new construction. And you can see the square footage chart. We're landing somewhere around just a little under 3,400 square feet. And that's an average, right? So there are some homes that could be 4,000 to 5,000 square feet. And also you might find some that tend to be a little bit smaller, but that's like double the square footage almost that we're seeing in some of the lowest price areas. So it's not just the land cost is higher, it's the square footage is much bigger. And if you want to be in that Blue Valley School District, the lot cost, the cost of building there is just going to be a little bit higher. Now, I think what makes it unique is you've got, because it's such an in-demand area, because of all those amenities, it tends to attract some of the best developers and some of the best builders in all of Kansas City. For example, Lee Summit, we mentioned Woodside Ridge Reserve, like it's even attracting builders who typically are only in that Lee Summit area, only in Missouri. They're now starting to go over to the Kansas side, and specifically Overland Park. But because of that reason, we've got a longer list of communities that you should know about, kind of hit a bunch of different price points.
Yeah, that's right. And starting with Southern Meadows, we have to talk about that one because those price points there start at $650,000, and it's in the Blue Valley School District. It's got an excellent builder lineup. The developer's solid.
And it's going to be over 1,200 homes, but those are some of the lowest new construction prices in the Blue Valley School District right now. And then the second one is Riverstone Valley. This is a neighborhood, a community that's been around for a few years, but we haven't seen much progress. And it actually just sold from one developer to another. So the new developers, J.S. Robinson, Don Julian, they've brought in a new builder lineup. They've got brand new amenities that are planned. They've got a ton of models, specs going in right now. And it's a highly sought after part of South Overland Park. It's just like basically across the street from Aubrey Bend Middle, Blue Valley Southwest High School, two of the most sought after schools in that highly sought after school district. And then number 3, we've got to bring up Century Farms.
Yeah, Century Farms, it's one of the hottest new construction communities in Overland Park, and it's also one of the farthest north new construction communities. Now, they're $1 million plus homes, excellent builder lineup, and they're selling fast.
Yeah, and really, I forgot to mention the major difference between Century Farms, Riverstone being further south. The prices are somewhere between 900 plus, Century Farms 1 million plus. But there are also a couple communities that are coming online very soon where you might even be able to get something started right now. So one is Wild Horse course. I think it's just east of Terrybrook Farms. It's closer to the highway, like 350 plus lots coming online. They're the ground stage, which if you're looking to get into one of these developments before the amenities go in, before the prices start increasing, that would be one tremendous builder lineup.
Yeah, you also have Woodmire, which is a Bruce Rickey development, and Lambie Homes development. That's going to be very, very close to Riverstone. They're breaking ground on that. They should have homes this summer. And then Walnut Reserve.
Walnut Reserve is a big one. Similar to Southern Meadows, it'll be east of the highway, but it's kind of alongside the highway. You've got huge lots. I think they're all a third of an acre plus, almost all of them back to a tree line. There's a limited number of lots available. It's not a huge community, but you've got some of the highest end builders that are going in there. The price, they'll be somewhere between 1.2, 1.5 plus. So plenty of different options for many different price points when it comes to new homes in Overland Park. But we are going to move on to number 2, which is Kansas City, Missouri. And the important distinction we have to draw here is that there is a big difference between new construction south of the river and north of the river. So you will find some new construction around the plaza area, the West Plaza area, homes being torn down, new homes built in their place, some vacant parcels of land where you'll see some new construction homes going in south of the river. But most of the new construction is north of the river in the Northland. The major distinction is it's going to feel like more like a suburb. It's going to be more spread out. There's a lot of land, so a lot of room for future development. And then third, you're going to get more of like a small town feel compared to the more urban areas you might find that are just south of the river. So with that said, we're going to put this chart on the screen. Jordan, Kansas City, it's clocking median price around $521,000.
That's a very competitive price when it comes to new construction in Kansas City. If you're going to compare it to all the other suburbs, what's even more impressive is the number of new listings. So 648 new listings in Kansas City, Missouri, far more than any other suburb in the metro. And Nick, the other thing, 2,500 square foot homes on average.
Yeah, so it's not like they're just building these on slab. You will find that in Kansas City, Missouri, but it's not like that's the only way they're getting the price down. And it's also not that they're just like building very, very small homes, which you will find some of that. But on average, again, pretty competitive price, pretty competitive middle of the pack square footage. When it comes to what makes the market in Kansas City, Missouri unique, I think you've got this 2 completely different markets almost. You've got the infill that's, tearing down pre-existing homes, building newer ones. A lot of that's in the West Plaza area or in some neighborhoods throughout town. And then you've got the Northland. So you've got this kind of split market that's completely different, operates differently, feels completely different. But one thing that has a major impact and has had a major impact on new homes in Kansas City, Missouri, a little over a year ago, they updated their building codes and their energy code requirements. And now they require these new construction homes to be at a level of efficiency. Some builders don't like it because they say that, well, homes were already efficient as is. And this is kind of like splitting hairs. A lot of builders don't like it because it slowed down how quickly they can get permits. And on top of that, it's increased the cost to build a home, sometimes between $15,000 to $30,000 or more. There are just way more requirements, hoops that builders have to jump through. And even though there's a large number, you'll have more options for new homes in Kansas City, Missouri than anywhere else, it can be more challenging to build a home there. And that's something that I went through with one of my clients who's building in one of the communities we'll bring up here in a second, where we went under contract in April. We didn't have a permit. They couldn't start construction until sometime in June or July. Whereas most cities, you're ready to roll in about a month, maybe 2 months, depending on the complexity in that specific city. So that's had a major impact, something that is certainly important to be aware of because all other factors are the same, the lot cost, the cost to build, etc. Just because of those building codes, you're going to see a higher price in Kansas City, Missouri. So finally, we've got some communities.
Yeah, so some of the top communities in Kansas City, you've got Cadence. That's North Kansas City. It's basically straight north of downtown. It's close to a lot of amenities like Zona Rosa, Metro North Crossing. And it's a hot Midwest community, and they've got maintenance provided villas. They start in the 500 range on up to $1 million plus properties.
Yep, the second one, Shoal Creek, it's near the golf course. Absolutely beautiful homes. You'll see some higher price points, and that's where we're showing you some of these different communities, multiple different layers, multiple different levels of luxury homes in Kansas City. They go anywhere from 600,000 all the way up to $2+ million. And then finally, another one that's kind of higher end and also has some more middle of the pack price points is Staley Farms.
Yeah, so Staley Farms is located centrally located in North Kansas City, easy access to downtown. It's a private golf community, and prices range from $650 all the way up to $2 million plus custom homes.
Now, moving on to our number one on the list, really it's Kansas City, Missouri, but we wanted to do the whole thing where we went Kansas side, Missouri side, and we've gotten ourselves into this mess. So
We're in a pickle.
that's right. So on the Kansas side, the number one is the city of Olathe, but Kansas City, Missouri has like double the number of options. So not to detract from the quality of options in Olathe, it's located just west of Overland Park. It's our principal city. It's growing very quickly. A lot of people are moving there, but it's not as built out as Overland Park. And the prices, there's a major difference. So here's the price chart right here, Jordan. We're clocking in a median price around $650,000.
Yeah, 650, very competitive when you look at Johnson County. So compared to Shawnee, lower than that. Compared to Overland Park, we're almost $200,000 under that price. And what's really nice, Olathe is in between both of them, has access to all the same amenities. And Nick, a lot of options to choose from. 342 listings, new listings in the last year, and then also square footage wise, they're building pretty big homes in Olathe, coming in at just under 2,900 square feet.
And that's a very important factor to add because even though you had the lower prices in Spring Hill, for example, a lot of them will come with slab foundations, meaning you don't have that basement. And a lot of them will just be around 2,000 square feet versus just under that 2,900. We also mentioned three things that really make Olathe unique. We talked about how there's a western side and a southern side. The Olathe School District, very highly rated according to niche.com, maybe not as sought after as that Blue Valley School District, but if you look at the rating, I mean, it's very neck and neck. I think at some point it's kind of like splitting hairs, but that district is highly sought after. You mentioned the Spring Hill School District, which is growing very quickly, but really it's about the community, very family focused. There are a lot of community events and tons of amenities throughout the city. But for us here, the reason the new homes in Olathe stand out, large number of options, ton of different communities to choose from. And the price per square foot for the larger square footage you're getting is very, very impressive. So a couple of the communities. Number one, the biggest master plan community in Johnson County, possibly all of Kansas City, is Cedar Creek.
Yeah, Cedar Creek, it's on the west side of Olathe. It's right off of K7. It started back in like 1989. It's 5,000 acres. It's got multiple different neighborhoods built throughout, and the home prices range from 600,000 up to multiple millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, it's built here on the Shadow Glen golf course, tons of amenity. It feels like a completely separate city. And the reason we're putting so much emphasis on this is because it's like a true like master plan community. You know, a lot of the others that we've discussed in the list, you know, you had maybe 300 to 400 homes and some of the bigger ones. This is one of the biggest, and it's a very large difference. The second one, we've got Boulder Creek. It's a grotto development community, 500 to 700 plus $1,000 price point. They've got villas, single family homes. They fall in the Spring Hill School District. They've got some new phases coming up soon with some very private lots that will be available. Our third one on the list, it's a big one. It's a new one. They're ground level right now. They've got some homes, some inventory up. Parkside Reserve.
Parkside Reserve, it's a Rod Rock development. It's right across from Heritage Park. Got some beautiful new floor plans they've got in, and those prices range from $650,000 on up to $1 million or even more.
And then Jordan, I know because you live in South Olathe, you're pretty bullish on this fourth community, which is Heritage Ranch.
Yeah, Heritage Ranch, Bruce Rickey, Lambie development. There's going to be over 300 home sites. They're going to have maintenance provided villas. Also, estate homes that are $1 million, $2 million plus properties. Now they're breaking ground now. They've got homes going up this summer. And what's really interesting about this new community in South Olathe is it falls in the Olathe School District. So these other ones we've touched on, they fall in the Spring Hill School District.
Now, of course, buying or building a new home in Kansas City is a lot more than just choosing the right city to do it in. Even some of these communities we listed, even if they're in the same city, huge differences between them. The builder, the lots, the floor plan, the community, the stage that that community's in, all have a major impact on your bottom line. So any questions about buying or building a new home in Kansas City, so phone call, text message, email. We'd love to share you some of the best options, some of the newest phases where you can get to lots that aren't even available yet, and also some of the best options that are either hiding in plain sight or not even listed on the market. So reach out anytime. With that said, we've got 2 videos on the screen. We've got a full playlist of all our new construction tours right there. Right here, this is the video YouTube thinks you'd enjoy the most. So click there or here, and we'll see you on the other side.